Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Huawei P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes once-off MTN data to 10 amazing storytellers. All you have to do is share your special moments with us. Follow at Huawei ZA and at MTN ZA and tag us with hashtag Huawei P20 and hashtag Real Talk Moments. We want to see and hear your stories and create lasting connections across the country. Each week there's a different theme, so keep checking our social pages for details and you could be a winner.
My name is and I'm the founder of Matters of the Brain. I've been dealing with bipolar disorder for about 8 years now. It's quite a tough mental health issue that needs so much attention. I've had to put on treatment, and the effects of the medication sometimes do contribute to my unwellness, but we obviously hope at times that the medication helps. I do therapy and engage with occupational therapists, and this message is all out to people who are dealing with severe mental health issues, to remind you that it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed to have a mental issue, because it's the only way you can survive, and speaking out about it can only help you and can only make you feel better. And me living with bipolar has made me stronger and has made me to understand my surroundings, to understand myself, and to understand the way forward of dealing with bipolar disorder, eating healthy, staying positive, and just being okay and praying to the Lord. So no to stigma. Bipolar disorder doesn't define who I am, and it doesn't define the person and my goals. I know that I will achieve them, and I believe in myself.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to you here on Real Talk on SABC3, and I'm your host, Azania Mosaka. Well, this evening we continue with the conversation around mental health, a topic that we're absolutely passionate about as Real Talk. And tonight we'll be focusing on a mental health condition that still needs to be discussed and understood, and that's bipolar borderline personality. Tonight, we have brave guests who are joining us, and they'll be opening up about their personal mental health journey. Remember that the lines are open to you, because this is also about your story. Keep the conversation going as well on our Twitter handle at RealTalkOn3. The television industry is a rigorous one, and up next we have a television industry professional and social entrepreneur, and she's been living with bipolar, generalized anxiety disorder, and dysthymia, and she's been living with these for over 8 years. She joins me on the couch right now to share her story. Repetile, how brave of you. So you're the founder of Matters of the Brain.
Yes, I am.
And this is an initiative you decided to start after beginning to understand your own condition, right?
Yeah, I feel like it had to happen. You know, it had to happen because I wasn't doing it for myself, but rather for my family. For them to understand that I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to have a disorder that people don't understand. So I did it for them to be educated, and also to give hope to other people who are dealing with the same issue.
So the journey's been hard for them.
It's been hard for them. They had to deal with episodes. They had to deal with my manic. They had to deal with my lower depression. They had to deal with me being in and out of ER and dealing with other physical symptoms. So it's been a journey, but I just got diagnosed from discharged from hospital.
This very day, and I find that so heroic that
Yes.
today is the end. Was it the end of another hospitalization?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel more confident, and I feel brave, and starting Matters of the Brain made me realize that it's not the end, it's actually the beginning, and I'm gonna conquer anything.
It's important to have perspective, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and to have a voice.
So what is bipolar? I know there are different types.
Okay.
But explain it to us in your words about what it is that you experience.
For me, bipolar is a shift of moods,
Yeah.
and as it's called bipolar mood disorder. So you move from the highs to the lows. For me, that's my understanding, and with my experience, is that I could be manic. Manic would be me being very violent, very aggressive, just hyperactive, and it comes with positive and negative, you know, and I could do something that I don't even remember or recall doing because I was in that state. And then you've got the low side for me. It would be the sad. I don't feel worthy. I'm not great at what I'm doing. I should be somewhere else, but I'm not there. My peers have cars, you know, but obviously now I have a car and I have things happening in my life.
Yeah.
And it's more of the suicidal thoughts and feeling like you just want to disappear and not live on this earth.
And we all go through, we go through a variation of moods.
Yeah.
You know, some days you're friendlier than others. Some days it's that I just want to stay in bed kind of day. And other days you're excited, your energy is high. So what you're describing seems like the extreme ends of these variations of mood.
Yes, and the thing is, with me, I was not only diagnosed with bipolar disorder because of the moods. I've got chemical imbalances in my brain.
Right.
So instead of my chemicals going straight, they would obviously be imbalanced.
So what's a typical day like then? Do you teeter between the two?
Well, it's been a very hard 3 months in my life this year. Hence, I had to go to hospital with the pressure of work and trying to find self-validation and other things that are related to my life. And a normal day would be me waking up feeling anxious and sad because I'm anxious, and it would be me going to work and feeling unwell and having to obviously face the world because we are all expected to work and we are all expected to make an income to live a certain lifestyle, not a rich lifestyle, but you need to earn in order to live a life and to achieve your goals. And then it would go to, at work, I would completely not speak at all because I just feel that I don't fit in and there's constant disagreements. I don't want to be part of it because I'm scared that I might be aggressive towards it. And a friend of mine used to tell me that, Reps, your tone is very aggressive. Try to take it a bit low. And at that point, I would have loved to tell her that I giketsi. You know, it's the kind of condition that I have.
Yes.
And I'm obviously trying to manage it, but sometimes it's not easy. And then I'd get home, I'm happy to see my boyfriend, but I'm stressed now because we never spend time. I'd have to drink my meds, sleep. In that whole process, I get a panic attack. And then it's stress on him because we would rush to ER and they would have to assist me quickly because I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And it's so exaggerated because you feel like you're gonna die or you're gonna lose your breath, and it's just heavy on you.
Right.
And that's my typical day. There are hardly happy times. My only happy times is when I see my family.
Tell me about your family.
When I spend time with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because they validate me and
They stand by you.
they stand by me.
Supportive.
I've been with him for 7 years and he's been there.
Where most people wouldn't stick around.
I've lost a couple of friends and because sometimes they feel that they can't deal with me, and it's okay. I've found a supportive structure. I've found a man who understands. I've got a mom who's a queen. Shout out to Nteboheng Nombulelo Georgia.
Yes.
She stood by me from day one when she saw that there was something different with me from childhood.
When did you realize that there was something different?
I think I realized when I was about 10, because I used to bully my sister a lot. I was an aggressive kid, and with my aggression came isolation. And with my friends came isolation. They would want to hang out, but I don't want to hang out. I'd rather be alone. So it was change of moods. This day I'm speaking to you, the next day I'm not speaking to you. Then I went to university. And then obviously the relationship between my sister and my brothers was already destroyed, and also because of the trauma. And in varsity, I found myself in a situation where I would not sleep for about 2 weeks, Azania. I would wake up in one day, and then the next day it's not sleeping.
Yeah.
Go to class, the next day it's not sleeping, it's just a nap from 5 to 6 because now I know. So I felt that something was wrong and I need to attend to it. Then I went to the GP and I was like, doctor, this is what I'm going through. I need your help.
Because often with mental health illnesses, the diagnosis is often so delayed.
Yes.
So how was that journey for you? Was it immediately diagnosed and
No,
accurately so?
The journey was very difficult for me because there were days where I would just be a party animal, and I never grew in a house where we were exposed to alcohol and partying and bunking school. So I started having that behavior in university, and I realized that something is wrong. And I dated back to when I was a kid, and I was like, okay, the aggression started when I was a kid.
But what was happening in the home? When this aggression, before even maybe as a result, things that resulted in you being aggressive that were happening in the home?
My dad was abusive.
To who? To your
My mom.
So you witnessed that as a child?
Yes. And I was like I was my mom's handbag. So everywhere she went, I was there. Every beating that she got, I was there. So I experienced it, and even on my blogs, I write then, after, when, how. That is my story. I'm telling my story of then. It means what happened then, after, what happened after, which is the damage that he left us with, you know. So that's why I appreciate my mom so much, and I'm glad to God that, because she's tried to kill herself several times because she couldn't take the abuse, and I'm glad she's still alive. I can smile because she's trying so hard to make sure I'm okay.
And what an example for you in terms of making sure you fight for your happiness, that you fight for your joy and fight for your life every day.
Yeah.
You're an incredible woman, and you'll be back on the panel a little bit later on. We're not done with telling your story this evening, but thank you so much for starting us off tonight.
Thank you.
Wow, so that was Retepile, and be assured that she'll be back as we continue to look at the journey that so many people have to undergo once they've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Our next guest describes her journey as one coupled by layers of nothing but self-isolation and disconnection. When we return, I'm joined by Lowena Boomgaard, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Well, this evening we're talking mental health, and my guests tonight are sharing their individual journeys of living fearlessly with their disorders. Lowena Boomgaard was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, severe anxiety and depression, as well as obsessive-compulsive disorder. Well, she joins me to share her journey. So welcome to Real Talk, Lowena. It's great to have you here.
It's good to be here and finally sharing
Yes.
my story and just putting awareness out on mental health.
So what does that do for you to be able to open up?
I think this is a very new journey for me, but not so new. It's very scary to open up about it, but it's very important because 1 out of every 4 people are actually suffering from a mental illness, and it's very important for us to share that you're not crazy and you're not, you know, it's just you have a disease and you can manage it.
Absolutely. You talk about the fact that you've been aware.
Yes.
It comes from your family history,
Yes.
growing up with that, with family members with different
I have
disorders.
a very heavy genetic load. My grandmother, father, my mother's sister, they all have bipolar. My cousin was diagnosed with depression. My mom's also been in a psychiatric facility before. So in my family, generally, it's a very heavy load of mental illness. So growing up with that, I've had the good sides and the bad sides, and some hectic trauma that kind of had to work through. But I've always been like, yes, I'm the strong one, and I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to be different. And I fought it off, I think, for a long time, where I've stored every bad traumatic experience. And
You've
I've
repressed them, put them aside.
Yes.
And
yes.
did that help?
Not at all. Not at all. I did not know I had bipolar at all. I did not know I had any mental illness. I went through a lot of traumatic events in my life that I suppressed, and I thought, I'm strong, you know, I'm working through them and it's fine and it's okay. Until about a month and a bit ago, when I went into a complete dissociative psychotic state where my mind just shut off and I was completely just not aware of my surroundings, not responding, just sitting in, day out, just sitting, staring at the ceiling, not knowing what's happening around me, and not even remembering or recalling what happened in those few weeks
So
before.
disassociated from your reality and your surroundings and environment.
And it wasn't one set thing that sets it off. It was just, it just happened. My mind and my body was just tired of suppressing all of this trauma. And my boyfriend luckily knew about my family history, and he took me to the emergency room after I've attempted to kill myself and failed miserably. And then I felt super bad about trying to commit suicide, because what about my family? But then also I have obsessive compulsive personality disorder, so I also felt, how did I fail at killing myself?
And so you become obsessed about that.
Yeah, you become
your mind
obsessed.
just zones in
so
on
you
that.
kind of just go all over, like, you know, and you're trying to still be strong for people and still look after them, but it's just, at a point, you just have to take care of yourself.
So you always wanted to be there for your siblings, be the strong one, be the brave one, whatever they were going through.
And trying to protect them. And I think my cousin was also sent to Denmark, which is a psychiatric facility, because of severe anxiety and depression. And I think after that, it kind of triggered me that I failed him. I failed to protect him from this family that just consists of pain and trauma and just all of this. So I think that's what also led to me being hospitalized. I also just came out about 3 days ago, so I'm also just adapting to the new reality of living with bipolar. But I have seen it and grown up with it with my dad also.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a caller. We've got Bulelwa calling from the Eastern Cape. Good evening, Bulelwa. Hi, Bulelwa. Are you with us, Bulelwa?
Yes, I'm online. I just wanted to interrupt.
Oh, all right. I think we lost her, but we'll try and get her back on the line. What a pity. So what are some of the things you're going to introduce that you'll be doing differently? As you've just said, you've come out of hospitalization. It's still kind of early, but what are the mechanisms that you'll bring about in order to cope and manage it?
So the one thing they focus on is self-awareness, knowing who you are, knowing how others see you, and not how you think others see you.
Right.
Because with bipolar comes a very kind of, you're paranoid about, you know, that I used to be paranoid about people. I would get a certain look from someone and I would think, that person hates me, they're out to get me, you know, and I would start, you know, you get paranoid, completely paranoid about something as silly as that. And I think it just, it comes through then just having awareness of who you actually are, self-awareness of how other people see you, really see you, and not how you think they see you.
Yes. Does this also mean recognizing the triggers?
Yes, recognizing. So the first thing is knowing what your triggers are. So for me, it's my family's well-being, my father's health, my grandmother's health, how also their behavior, my boyfriend's family as well, if they kind of have a certain attitude with me, well, not that they do, but if I feel a vibe in my mind, if I've made up that they have, it's a kind of trigger for me. So not greeting me, I would feel, oh, I've done something wrong, you know, and I need to fix it because I'm obsessive compulsive, so I need to fix this thing. So I think I've kind of went into a thing where I always buy people gifts. And then I go into a mania where I just buy anything.
I was commenting about your hair color because I know your pictures. And you're brunette in a lot of your pictures. So you've changed it up to the strawberry blonde.
Yes, it was like a last minute thing, like I'm gonna go blonde. And so I just dyed it until I went blonde. And it wasn't for any reason. It was just because I felt like it.
So does this describe your manic?
Yeah, like it's a happy manic episode that you get. And then you get also the depressive manic episode where you would feel awful for doing that, and you'd feel awful for all the shopping that you've done, and you would just blame yourself, and you would feel that you are just, you know, a failure in life, and you just shouldn't live because it would be better if you're just not here, because you can't protect people, you can't, you know. So it's a very like complex thing to kind of understand if you don't know about the mental illness.
Yes, yes.
And I never knew that I had it until I was hospitalized, and they had a family meeting with my boyfriend, and they've explained the triggers, the warning signs, all of those different things to us. And we kind of went back thinking, in the 6 years of us being together, oh my word.
That was it.
That was it. You know, that was a sign.
Yeah.
You know, like you kind of, it just clicks, and it makes so much sense. And you're around people who understand you there. So they all go through the same thing. And they kind of like explain a few things to you as well as how they perceive their bipolar, because I feel like everyone has a different experience with it. But also we all have the same warning signs and things, so you can kind of relate to them. You feel so comfortable and so safe.
Yeah, and understood. I think that's important. Understood when you felt so misunderstood for a long time.
For so long.
Yes. Well, Louina, it's been educational.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for being here, especially so soon after your hospitalization. It's been quite a brave journey to hear. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to just share this journey and to just share the awareness for this, so people can know out there that there's help. And once you get it, you'll feel so safe and secure and so understood.
Yes, and more in your body.
Yes.
So we lost Bulelwa earlier on, but you're welcome to give us a call throughout the conversations we'll be having. The lines are open to you, and also you can tweet us at Real Talk on 3. So when we return, more brave journeys right here on Real Talk. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Real Talk, and this evening we've been exploring the journeys of my very courageous guests who've been opening up about living with their mental health conditions, bipolar and borderline personality disorder. Well, my next guest was clinically diagnosed this year with major depression, borderline personality disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So right now on Real Talk, I'd like to welcome Portia Mwemedi. Good evening, Portia.
Good evening, Azania.
So that makes it what, four conditions?
I know. I came in with one.
Uh-huh.
And then I came out with 4. So
when you say in, you're talking about when you were hospitalized?
Yes. So I was hospitalized in December.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun.
2017 December.
No, let me go back. Let's go back.
Yeah.
So for years, I think since my second year, I've always known that there's something not wrong with me, but I need help. But when you
For years.
But when you don't know what kind of help you need, like how can you ask for it? I can't even explain to people how I'm feeling. I can't even explain to myself how am I going to do that to a doctor.
Yeah.
So I didn't seek help for years, and in December 2017, I had like an episode. I'll call it an episode. It wasn't cute. I completely dissociated. I can't remember half the things that happened that night. And my boyfriend at the time was then like, I think you need to, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And I went to my GP because I had not seen anyone then. And she said to me, I think you have depression. And I kind of knew, but I was just in denial because what is depression? I mean, I got
Did you
my
think it
things
would
together.
pass?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We always think that things will pass.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that got me there, also like I was sexually assaulted, so I thought, it would pass. I'll put it at the back of my mind, and it will go away, and we'll never have to think about it.
Yeah. So wait, when you talk about being sexually assaulted, so you were raped in university while you were at varsity and never got help for it?
No, because where am I going to start, right? So that was that, and I think just rejection. I think I have the deepest fear for rejection from people, not necessarily like interpersonal relationships, not necessarily work or anything like that. That's fine, but interpersonal relationships, I think.
Where do you think that stems from?
My dad. I think him rejecting me at such a young age, you know, I always felt like I had to work hard to make people see that I'm actually a good person, I'm a good child. Like, I worked so hard, I was good at my academics, I was a great sportsman, I was head girl.
You got a
I was,
bursary,
you know,
like
I
to
was
study
just,
at one of the best schools in your hometown.
Sorry, I'm so nervous. Because I feel like I am like naked in front of everyone right now. And it's a lot.
Which is why we keep talking about your courage in this moment.
Oh, okay. So yes, I always had to prove myself. And it gets tiring. So I don't want to be rejected.
Yeah.
And I think at this age, I just realized I need help. What they did tell me is that I don't have full BPD. It's traits of it, because you need 5 to be diagnosed with BPD. My psychologist was saying I should be very thankful that it's not all 5, because it can be worse. So I'm thankful that it's just, you know,
traits of it.
Like, it's not a lot.
And the PTSD is understandable because of the traumas that you underwent.
And I was also in a very abusive relationship. The man used to beat me. And I don't know why I stayed, because I was the girl that told people, that people looked up to, and was like, people listened when I spoke, when I speak. And now I'm, you know?
Yes.
So that was also...
That's so interesting that you say that, because even with Rowena earlier on, she talked about how she had to be the strong one for the people around her. So you are the strong one. People listen to you. They have a particular perception. Meanwhile, inside, you're tearing yourself apart, or your thoughts are so manic or distorted about yourself and your reality. That must be hard to reconcile.
I also think that you always have to be strong for others, because you can't let them down. I think the world has been so unkind to me, and the world has been not nice and letting me down, and I don't want to do that to another person. So in the process, I think I hurt myself, if anything.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be like that.
So this is quite recent for you, truth be told, because...
I was diagnosed in May.
Yeah.
I was in hospital for 2 months. And, you know, it was tough. It was really, really tough.
What was the hardest thing?
Being in there, having to face yourself, have like hard conversations with yourself, because it's something that we don't have with people around us. We're always so busy that you don't really get time to sit down and, you know, just reflect on your life, on what's happening around you. I always say, what happens when the lights go off?
Yes.
These cameras, when, what happens?
From
like,
the glare of people.
What do you hear? Like, it just comes back to that. And I think I had 2 months to, you know, think about that and really dig deep. And I think what brought it on, like all the emotions, because I never had to, because I was always busy. For a while, I didn't have any shows, so I was literally home all the time.
Presented, you've been on television before.
And there was nothing happen. It was just like quiet.
It's interesting, because I think in this country, we don't do enough to understand the psychology of being unemployed, because it brings about depression. It can bring about depression. It can bring about feelings of low self-esteem, isolation, and so often we just think people aren't doing enough to find work or to stand for themselves. Meanwhile, there is a mental side of it that
There is.
can be debilitating.
Absolutely. Some people more than others.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't have a support system, oh my goodness, my mom, I don't know, like, how. Like, she offered so much of herself, and with the little that she gets,
Yeah.
I had a very good upbringing, you know.
Because she was a domestic worker. Yeah.
I mean, she didn't need to send me to these schools.
And here you are going to
Yeah.
Stellenbosch and...
She didn't need to, and I think also part of the reasons why I always did good is because I could see, like, she really wants this for me, because she didn't want me to live a life that she led.
Yes.
With that said, it wasn't just her. Obviously, her employees also helped where they could, but she didn't need to. And for me to take off the weight off her shoulders, I made sure that I put in, you know, my, you know, that I have.
Yeah.
And luckily it was my brain and my,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And then, yeah,
Well, I think we should take a break.
I think so too.
You made it through it.
Yeah.
I know it was hard, but you made it through this segment. So we're going to let you have a break. We're going to get some water, and then we'll be back with more of my guests after this. What an incredible, courageous story from Portia. Well, Sheree Leah Rousseau's journey is what we'll be talking about next. And it began at the age of 6 when she started binging quite excessively, an experience that she says was embedded in her psyche from her birth. Well, she joins me after the break as we go through her journey, so stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back to Real Talk here on SABC3. Well, she describes her journey as a long, harrowing, but a hopeful one. Sheree Lee Rousseau joins me now on the couch, and thank you so much for all your calls and your comments. Just keep them coming. Sheree, welcome to Real Talk. Thank you for being on the couch tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Your story starts from a very young age.
Yes.
So what was happening? Because you were 6 years old and you started binging,
Yes.
binging on food.
Yes.
What was going on?
You know, as a young child, I was brought up in a certain religion that had very strict rules and doctrines, and I think it made a lot of my family members, including myself, quite cold and wondering why we're so different to the rest of the world, because I would go to preschool and
I see.
I would get bullied because...
As young, as early as preschool?
Yes, as early as preschool. And I remember at that age comparing myself to the other girls and wondering, there's something wrong with me because I just don't feel loved, or nobody wants to be around me. And at that age, I thought it was my appearance. So,
so then you become obsessed with your weight, with how you look.
yes, at first it was, you know, I wanted my mom to take me, and I can remember this memory very well, shopping so I can get clothes like the other girls, and yeah, I just felt like something was wrong. And also I had separation anxiety. I was having panic attacks as young as 6 years old.
Yes, and in your teens, how did you cope with it?
My teens are the worst years of my life. I can describe it as absolute hell.
Hell?
Yes. Okay. So I developed bulimia and anorexia. So it was like EDNOS, eating disorder not specified, because I would go up and down between
the two.
Starvation and sometimes I wouldn't even binge. I would feel like having a glass of water was going to
be
add weight on me, and I would go throw it up.
Wow.
Yes, baths. I would think that the water would sink into like my pores, and I would gain weight from it. So, and constantly checking my body in the mirror and weighing myself all the time. And obviously, my health was not. I was not getting nourished. And by
started to suffer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the age of 11, I went to my GP, and they diagnosed me with bipolar. And that's where my journey with prescription medication started. And only looking back now, I see that the medication actually almost induced a bipolar.
Right.
And I was misdiagnosed, and I got a diagnosis last year of a borderline personality, but also not full-blown. I've got the traits of rejection.
Okay.
I'm a people pleaser, and I don't want to be rejected because of the trauma I went through as a young child, which is plenty.
And there's also a tendency when you don't know and you don't have the tools to cope or manage a condition to kind of numb through other things, through other chemicals, whether it's food or drugs.
Yes.
So you went through that as well?
Yes, I did. I experienced with alcohol, like any other teenager, you know, and weed and stuff as a young child, but then it grew into full-on addiction. I smoked marijuana for 8 years, constantly, morning to night, sometimes up to 20 joints.
Wow.
A night. And to me, it was normal. And, you know, I got into a very, very abusive relationship where everything was based on drugs. And that's when the actual chemicals came into.
Right.
And I didn't educate myself. I was very naive, so I was taking it every day.
But you know better now.
Oh,
and
yes,
we'll talk about this journey that you've been on over the past 4 years. But we have a call right now. Monica, you're calling us this evening. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Hello, how are you, Azania?
We're good. Thank you for calling, Monica. What's your comment and question?
Thank you too much for today's topic. I've been living with bipolar for 4 years now.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking that I'm all alone. I have this thing that other people they don't understand it, especially at home. I have to educate them every day about business.
Yeah.
So today's show at least inspire other people to understand what we are going through about this thing, you know. And thank you so much. Please keep on doing this positive thing, Azania, please. And we are inspiring other people as well.
Yes. Monica, just know that you're not alone, which is what Lorena was saying earlier on as well, that her reason, her focus around coming here today to tell her journey and her story is to make other people know that they're not alone, as she also had felt alone. Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you very much, Azania.
Thank you. So the past 4 years have been a very different picture.
Completely.
So what's been going on? What pulled you out of that kind of lifestyle?
Okay, so I would say the end of everything for me. I was on holiday in Mozambique with the person I was dating, and I was already sick and tired, and I was still, you know, the eating disorder was still active, and I couldn't ruin myself enough. I wanted to die. I was very suicidal. I couldn't make who I wanted to make happy. I just didn't feel good enough.
Yes.
Anyway, so they smuggled drugs in my car, and because I was so depressed and withdrawing from drugs, I wasn't socializing with anybody. I was isolating, and it was.
So that was your bottom.
They left me in Mozambique.
They abandoned you there.
Yes, I call it. You know, it's been made aware to me by professionals that I was dating a narcissist. And
but then you had to make it about you. It had to then start being about you and your recovery.
Yes.
So what do you do now to ensure that you stay on this path of wellness?
At the moment, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I have never felt so amazing in my entire life. And being free also from all of the chemicals, the medications I was on, the drugs, and I just feel physically well. And what's very important to me is my faith as well.
Yes.
And growing up in, you know, a strange religion where you think that God hates you and you fear him, to now coming to an understanding of a God that loves me and forgives me.
Yes.
And to me, that has just kept me completely straight in the path. I love life. I love waking up in the morning. And I promise you, there was moments where I stayed in bed for months.
Yeah.
I had no serotonin left in my body. I was going to kill myself.
And now you're the first one up, first to face the day.
Yes.
What a great recovery.
Yes. So
Thank you so much, Sheree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, an incredible journey. And it just proves that it is possible. So after the break, I'll be wrapping up this evening's conversation with these courageous women. You are with Real Talk here on SABC3. Well, we're wrapping up this evening's conversation with women bravely living with mental health disorders. And the fact is, they're certainly not allowing it to define them, as they've proven this evening. Welcome back, ladies. There's just still so many misconceptions. You know, I was touched by the earlier caller from Monica, feeling like she was alone. So there are a lot of misconceptions and myths out there. What are some of the ones that you really want to dispel, that you continue to encounter and hear? Ritipile?
Don't define us as crazy. Don't define us as buhlanya or buloyi.
Buloyi, yeah.
So it hurts us so much to know that people still call mental health that, and it's even so stigmatized, not only in the Black community, but in the workplace. I mean, I brought a doctor's note and I was asked why. Was it a GP or was it a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I always have to constantly explain myself. And the judgment is very huge, to a point where people can't even open up. People end up killing themselves because they have no one to share.
They're shamed, in fact.
They are ashamed.
Feeling isolated.
And they feel that it's embarrassing to have a mental health issue.
Yes.
So
what's quite common with all of our guests tonight is the importance of relationships. Relationships, on the one hand, we talked about romantic relationships and the role that they've played in the different guises. With you, Sheree, for instance, it was a toxic relationship. As you said, he turned out to be a narcissist. And for you, Portia, there was abuse in a relationship. And with you, Ritipile, it has been a loving relationship, like Lowena as well. So the role of that person that you are sharing your life with in either managing or exacerbating a mental condition, what would you say that is?
I think when you're BPD, you always blame yourself for everything.
Okay.
It can never be the other person's fault. So when the abuse would happen, I'd be like, okay, sure, maybe I was wrong, right? And I was young at the time. So you always put the blame back to you because you'd rather not, you know, get them upset, because then we have a complete different fight from the start.
Yeah.
But in terms of relationships, I think in this journey I've learned that it's so lonely. And I think at this point today, I don't care who dropped me along the way. Like, I'm doing this with the people that I can count on my hands.
Yeah.
And they truly care. They don't just want to invite you for coffee and that's it, and we go for lunch and that. Like, they actually want to know how you're doing. And people with BPD love relationships. Like, we love to nurture, we love to care, we love to love. And I think sometimes people take it the wrong way, and because we overdo it.
And can easily abuse that, So, Sheree, here you are on this path of, it's been 4 years, and being connected, being plugged back in, being fully present in your mind and your body. What advice would you give for people that are feeling this despair, you know, when you've despaired from your sense of self and your community?
For me, it's been 4 years since the eating disorder has been in remission. But I went into rehab on the 5th of January, the beginning of this year, to get off sleeping pills, like anti-anxieties, because I was abusing them, and marijuana, because that's one thing I couldn't stop. And I just straight away knew that it's life or death, and I have to do this. I don't want to be that person that says in 10 years' time, oh, no, let me get help. And then
today, it starts today.
Today. I was like, I don't care how horrible I feel, I'm doing it.
Okay.
And I would definitely say that, like you mentioned, we are very loving people, and people get scared because we can overdo it sometimes. But you always need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Make yourself aware.
Yes. I like that.
Yes.
That's a great note to end
Yes.
off on.
And just you'll find out who really cares.
Absolutely, who's willing to
Yes.
stick with you for this
Yes.
journey.
Yeah.
Well, Matters of the Brain is a great resource that's available that people need to know about, that there is help, that you're not alone, you don't have to remain in isolation. I really want to extend a very special thank you to all of my brave guests this evening for sharing what have been very difficult stories for them to open up about. I think, as Portia said, you literally feel naked having to disclose the details of this journey. It's definitely a whole lot that we've engaged about. We're educated ourselves and our society, and we need to keep going and keeping this conversation continuing. So please keep it going on our social media platforms, on Facebook as well as on Twitter. It's at Real Talk on 3. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow evening as we have a sit down with some of South Africa's successful weight loss journeys, and we'll get to grips with that tomorrow. So make sure you don't miss it. 6 p.m. on SABC 3. From us, it's good night.
That's cheeky.
Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Y-Way P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Y-Way P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes once-off MTN data to 10 amazing storytellers. All you have to do is share your special moments with us. Follow at YWayZA and at MTNZA and tag us with hashtag YWayP20 and hashtag RealTalkMoments. We want to see and hear your stories and create lasting connections across the country. Each week there's a different theme, so keep checking our social pages for details and you could be a winner.